Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Wednesday, the 30th of November. I can't believe it. We're on time this morning. Gold star for us, Stevie. We're consummate professionals. The dream team are taking over and we're on time, so all good. I'm Derek Clark, of course, and I'm joined by Stevie Clifford. How are we getting on, Stevie?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good. I'm delighted we managed to start on time. So normally I'm late or can't get logged in or something. So let's set off as we mean to go.
Yeah, well, we had Wi-Fi issues yesterday, so touch wood that it's plain sailing on this show. Lots to talk about, folks. Before we do that, though, I just want to mention that our Black Friday offer ends tonight at midnight, so time is running out. You can see the little ticker below, and the link is in the description of the title of this video as well. Just £1 for 6 months worth of content. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe. Loads of you taking advantage of it, and why wouldn't you? It really is. It's the best offer ever, I believe. And it's, yeah, you won't be disappointed if you go and pay your £1 and enjoy the content that we're producing. Lots of stuff on there. Article from Stevie actually this morning on Michael Beale's appointment is really engaging and interesting. And there's loads on there about Beale's appointment, from his an in-depth look at his tactical philosophy, the solutions that he has to find now he's in the door at Ibrox. There's a piece on what his peers and players he's coached make of him, and there's expert opinion pieces on there as well. So go and check it out. And as Stephen says, great deal, well worth £1. Thank you very much for your support, Stephen. Right, Stevie, I've not had a chance to speak to you since Michael Beale was announced, of course, on Monday. I think the majority of supporters are quite pleased with the appointment. I know you certainly are. What's your overriding feeling on Mick coming back up the road?
Well, just before we start talking about Michael Beale, I was at the women had a closed doors game on Sunday, Derek, right? And over at Bainburg, just by not far from Ibrox, actually. So I went along. I took my boys just to go along. Megan Bell made our first game back in nearly over a year. So I was just leaving, and this man approached me and he said to me, he says, "You're the boy off the review show I watch every morning." So I said, aye, that's me. And I was waiting on it, Derek. I was like, oh no, like, you know, I'm going to get pelters here. And he said to me the best ever bit of praise: "You are reasonably sensible." And I'll take that every day of the week, mate. Reasonably sensible. So to that young man, good morning, and thanks very much for the praise on Sunday. It was much appreciated. Reasonably sensible. By the time I phoned my missus a couple of minutes later, I was the best thing on the show. But that's beside the point. But anyway, so Michael Beale, yeah, I'm absolutely delighted. You know, I've obviously spoken to you the last couple of months, spoken to you at games and that, how I feel about Michael Beale. I think that he's an excellent coach. He's a very good man motivator. He's a very tough disciplinarian, and I think that he will ultimately get the best out of this squad. I really hope that going forward he gets what he needs. He gets the support he needs, and I talk about that as well in the article this morning. That, it's really key that he gets that. It's really key that he gets the support, and it's really key that he gets who he needs on his backroom staff as well. So really, really happy he's here. I appreciate there's some questions. I address that as well in the article. Some people maybe not too sure about lack of experience and things like that. But I would hope that anybody who feels like that would kind of get on board. And also, if they had watched his not his press conference yesterday, but his interview with that was online, if they had watched that, they would have really enjoyed it. And he speaks a good game. And we know that talk is cheap and talk is easy, but he says a lot of really key, interesting things there. So, yeah, I mean, I'm all in. I'm very excited about it. And I feel like I've got my enthusiasm and excitement back that I've kind of maybe curtailed recently when things haven't been going so well. So I'm really excited about it, really looking forward to it. And I genuinely think that given time, he'll do an extremely good job for Rangers.
Yeah, he did an interview with not only Rangers TV folks, but also Sky Sports, which was released yesterday. He said he's nobody's friend when it comes to his relationship with the new players. He spent 3.5 years, of course, as a first-team coach under Steven Gerrard before leaving for Aston Villa and then being his own man at QPR before being appointed as Rangers manager in his own right. In that Sky interview, he said that I wasn't that close to the players, to be honest, in terms of friends. I was never anyone's friend. I was always a bit of a disciplinarian out on the training pitch. I was the moaner of the previous staff, and that was my job, to take training and drive standards. I was close to the players. I was never anyone's friend, so I feel that's not an issue. The fact we lived unbelievable experiences together, I think the players know we can recreate and build something strong and special again. That actually gives confidence, but it's not a case of me coming back in here and having a million friends in the playing staff. I do in the support staff. He then continued, he said that I need to look at those guys and know they're here for the right reasons, and that they're moving forward regardless of age. Age is not a factor. The factor is they're playing for Rangers, and are they working every day to make Rangers stronger? Are they a good teammate? Are they a good person around the building? Those things are really important to me. That's what's been spoken about behind the scenes. I've told them I've got a big belief in them, and otherwise wouldn't have wanted to have come back. What do you make of his interview, Stevie? I thought it was a really good sit-down chat with them. Really interesting stuff that came out of it. The bit about not being anyone's friend, I think, was interesting because I think he's well liked by supporters. We all seen him when he came up getting pictures and what have you with the fans. And many felt that maybe this squad that needs an overhaul, maybe might be too friendly to him. But this is interesting that he's a bit of a disciplinarian.
Well, actually, Derek, as you know, when we put in articles, we don't put them in and then they're immediately published. I actually put in my article this morning. I think maybe Monday night or Tuesday AM it was, and I had mentioned in it before this interview had come out that a couple of things that you have to be all in with Michael Beale. You can't be half-hearted. He will set and drive the standards in training, and that he is a disciplinarian. Look, Michael Beale's actually really, really tough, and I don't think people realise that. And it used to be a kind of running joke that when Michael Beale celebrated on the touchline, you knew that we had done well because he was always very controlled with his emotions. He was always very stern and kind of, that way from the touchline. And I really think that it'll surprise people when they hear that kind of thing. And maybe they thought, nice, friendly Michael Beale. But Michael Beale isn't like that. Genuinely, he's not like that around the club. A Rangers manager has to have an aura. He has to have a presence, Derek. And I've always felt that. I've always said that. And I'm not sitting here saying that others haven't. But when Walter Smith walked in the room, you felt it. When Steven Gerrard walked in the room, you felt it. And there's plenty of others examples as well as managers. However, when Michael Beale is there, I feel the same thing from Michael Beale. And yes, I like him and I'm probably more favourable to him. And I get that. So I've got to be careful of being a wee bit, over positive, etc. But to try and describe it to people, Michael Beale carries himself like that. He comes across really well, but he comes across as being really stern as well when he needs to. So when he said yesterday in the interview about not having friends and being the disciplinarian, being the one that drives the standards on the training pitch, I fully agree. I fully kind of not agree with it as such because I relate to it. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And in terms of, I can understand what he's saying, and I believe in that as well. So I really think that the players have been allowed to get into a situation where slackness and apathy is almost kind of ignored, and they've been allowed to do that. And it's translated onto the pitch. You will not get that under Michael Beale. Rangers will be fit, they'll be organised, and they'll be determined. And yes, look, him coming in doesn't suddenly wave a magic wand, and we're not going to suddenly go on a big run and win every game. I really hope we do. However, it won't be the staleness and lack of trying that we've seen recently. All these accusations that we'll put to the players, you won't get away with that under Michael Beale. So one of the key phrases I used in the article, which he said later on himself, which I'm really quite pleased about, is you've got to be all in. And if these players aren't all in, then they're going to quickly find out that, as he said, you will be put to the side. So there's for me, Derek, genuinely, there's a lot to be really enthusiastic about. And I realise that he can't suddenly wave a magic wand and make this squad world beaters, etc. But as he pointed out, 6 months ago, we were in the Europa League final. So there is something about this squad. And I definitely feel that he's the one to try and bring it out. And he's also the one who 1 year ago, Derek, would have known exactly what we needed, would have known the freshness. And he spoke about it before in an interview, that maybe certain players had peaked at 55 and it was their time to move on and stuff like that. If he thought that a year ago, he certainly thinks it now. And he certainly will do the same. He will be knowing and have that kind of knowledge as well. So I've not got, somebody mentioned it to me again yesterday, just like you're saying, but I've not got any issues regarding Michael Beale being too close to anyone or not being able to make the big decisions. You've got to remember as well that Michael Beale's taken a hell of a big reputational chance to come up and take this job, given how the QPR scenario worked out. He's coming up here and he knows he has to win, not only for this club, but for himself to have any kind of future in management and things like that as well. So he'll be all in, and if you're not with him, then you'll very quickly not be at this club.
Yeah, that's certainly what seems to be coming across. Go and check the interview out, folks, if you haven't seen it. I really recommend it. Lots of interesting stuff from Michael Beale. Stephen Gillespie gets in touch. Hi, Stephen. He says he likes Derek's interview with the QPR fan. Brought in a load of decent talent for hee-haw. I wonder if we can get any decent players in January. Well, he did say all those players are under contract. I was interested to hear he feels that the boy Willock, who they got from Arsenal, came in because of the assistant coach that's come up with Michael Beale, and he wouldn't be surprised if there was murmurings of a move to Glasgow as well. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think that sticking point would be a transfer fee, and a hefty one at that, if QPR were to sell Willock, who's a top player for them. But some interesting takeaways from that interview, Stevie, that he talked about the set pieces, and certainly they look threatening from the set pieces. He said going forward, they often get their head on the end of things. However, they've got a big problem with conceding from set plays, losing first contact, and it's a real problem for them. Beale said that at QPR it's a mentality issue. Is that slightly concerning? It seems like it's a problem that Rangers have had pretty much not only this season, but last season as well, those defending set pieces.
Yeah, I mean, without being disregarding, that's nothing new for us, is it? So the positives is, and let's journey back just a couple of games before the break. That St Johnstone game, we had 10 corners in the first 10 minutes, and we did absolutely nothing with those 10 corners. If we've got a specialist and a guy that's properly known his thing, then I'm really confident that the laws of averages, at least, we'll get some joy. It would be nice not to watch, 10 repeated outswinging corners that do absolutely nothing. So a wee bit of training there would be much welcomed. As for the defending side of it, Derek, without being disrespectful to anyone, and I really don't mean to say this, I would hope that better players and better kind of organisation, when you get the likes of Goldson back, etc., that we would be in a position to be able to do better in these situations. And I agree with Craig Andrews that you're saying our defence does need sorted out. I really do agree with that. However, I would also say that once our players get fit, we do have enough selections in there to hopefully have a decent partnership. Ben Davies and Connor Goldson, for example, were looking pretty good before that injury to Connor. So, and we know how much of a rock he is. And if you didn't know it before he got injured, we certainly know it now. So we do have options, and I think that given Philip Hollander's going to go out of contract and things like that, I think definitely we could be looking to strengthen and add possibly a new partner in there for Connor Goldson in competition for Ben Davies. So going forward, I do agree it's something we have to sort, but I also think that with proper organisation and better centre halves, again, no disrespect to anyone, I'm not meaning to be like that, but just hope that possibly we'd be defending better. But is it a concern? I think it would be naive just to brush it aside and say, look, everything will be absolutely fine, because of this time last year we were getting advice from supporters, very famously to you, Derek, and look how that turned out. So it's something that we've got to be mindful of, and I'm sure it's something also that Michael Beale is mindful of and I'll know. So let's hope that first and foremost, attacking wise, we get a wee bit more joy, and then we manage to close the back door, so to speak.
Yeah, fingers crossed. You can check that interview out, folks, on the website. And again, just £1 for 6 months, that Black Friday offer, which ends at midnight. So do take advantage of it before it's too late. So many comments come in here, Stevie. I'll rattle through a few of them here. Crypto Knight gets in touch. What will he do with Kent and Alfie if they don't sign a new contract? Well, I think we can only surmise it and give our take on things. I think a Beale arrival might get a tune out of both players. Well, I think Ryan Kent, to his credit, did look the most threatening in the last few weeks, but I don't know if that says more about the overall team, Stevie, before Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was dismissed. Morelos has had his problems to seek, of course. He's so off the pace it defies belief, but could Michael Beale returning to the club see him recapture the form that he's we all know he's capable of?
Well, first of all, Ryan Kent. I think that Ryan Kent gets a really hard time, and I've said this consistently, because we know the heights he can hit. We're kind of quite tough on him.
Yeah.
If anyone can get the best out of Ryan Kent, it's Michael Beale. So, Ryan Kent's best return of goals, best assist run and stuff like that all came under their kind of management. So I would hope that he has a plan for him. I would also hope that perhaps if he was withering of whether to stay with Michael Beale arriving and them getting on so well, I would hope that that might persuade him. As for Alfredo Morelos, I've taken some criticism, Derek, for my views on Alfredo Morelos, but we are very much entitled to think that he should be giving us a lot more. Now, I went on paper and was very critical of him after Easter Road about his attitude, his fitness, and what he was bringing to the table. Promptly, it followed the next day, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst doing what he did. And I don't think Alfredo's really recovered from that. If he wants a future at Rangers, or a move, or a future anywhere in football, then he really needs to start proving it now. But there's a chain of thought as well. It might be time to cut our ties and let him go for the good of everyone. So Michael Beale will know that. He'll know exactly where he was a year ago. He'll know where he was now. And Michael Beale's not silly as well. He knows what's went on. He knows the application issues. And it's not, as I said in my piece last week on the Rangers Review, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst wasn't to blame for everything, Derek. These players have got to stand up and be counted. And Alfredo Morelos is certainly one that needs to look at himself in the mirror and really ask himself, is he giving everything? Because truthfully, if he does that, I think we all know what it would say back to him.
Yeah, the jury is certainly out, that's for sure. Lots more comments coming in here. Jim Reed gets in touch. He says a really impressive interview from the new manager yesterday. I'm more optimistic now than I was before seeing that interview. Time will tell if the optimism is well placed. Yeah, I tend to agree, Jim. I did enjoy watching both interviews with Rangers TV and also Sky as well. And we believe he will be unveiled officially tomorrow at some point. When that press conference is carried out, folks, you'll hear it first and see it on the Rangers Review site and on our social media channels as well. Looking forward to that. Interesting point here, Stevie. Sean Maxwell gets in touch. He says we should have given the manager a 6-month contract with the option of 2 more years if he did good. And positive vibe on the back of that says, I guess the 3.5-year deal is a show of faith in the new setup and will bring much needed stability and continuity. What do you make of the contract length? It's sparked a bit of debate just based on Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, of course, having to pay him off early. Are you concerned about the 3.5-year deal being given to Michael Beale?
No, because I think if you went to Michael Beale and said, here's a 6-month contract and you might get another 2 if you do well, do you think he's going to leave QPR to come up the road for that? I think he would be saying, well, absolutely not. I need stability. Yeah. So I understand it. And what people have got to realise is as well, and I'm not sitting here saying that I know everything or even anything. But if you give a manager, like we did with Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, a 3.5-year deal, when there's a severance package, the likes of his coaches and that, they'll maybe get a year of that paid up. That's how these things work. And then they'll leave the club. There's always clauses and things written in that if they get removed, they won't get paid in full. They'll get paid a certain amount. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst will continue to collect his wage from Rangers until he's employed somewhere else or his contract ends. So it's not like he goes and you suddenly have to give him £2-3 million. It doesn't work like that. So Michael Beale has come up here. He's not going to come up here on a 6-month contract or things like that. So we've given him the stability and belief. We've shown him a wee bit more, and he'll probably, and he needs that back as well. So 3.5 years for me. Listen, I get people looking at it and maybe saying, but if things go well, which we hope it does, Michael Beale's going to be
in demand.
Be wanted. He's going to be in demand. So we have to. It works both ways, and we would hope that by giving him that length of contract, it protects us as much as it protects him and gives him that stability. So I think that possibly we're just a wee bit scarred by the fact that it didn't really work out, or we've had to remove Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. And what I will say, Derek, is somebody asked me the other day, was Van Bronckhorst the wrong appointment and would you have changed it? Absolutely not. It didn't work out domestically, but we had some brilliant times under him. He returned the Scottish Cup, which was a huge moment. That European run was incredible. That was some of the best nights that we've all ever had.
Yeah.
And qualifying for the Champions League domestically, it didn't work out, and there was a number of factors there, including the players, injuries, and things like that. And I'm not making excuses for him, and I sat and gave him a really hard time. And sorry about this, Derek. I'm getting pulled by my dog, genuinely. Right? So she's pulling me at the same time. But it's not a case of me rewriting history and things like that with Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. My thoughts were clear, but I don't like kind of saying anything was a mistake or that. Let's embrace Michael Beale and hopefully he can pick things up again.
Yeah. Are we eating into Walkie's time, Stevie? Is that?
She's been. I took her out. She's been at 9 o'clock, so she was out for a good half an hour there. But see, when I'm doing these kind of things, she gets all excited and kind of and carries on. So yeah,
she's a big fan of the show.
Well, aye, she is. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if she jumps up any minute. She likes a wee moment of fame.
Fantastic stuff. Right, let's get to some of the other comments that are coming in here. Interesting point here from Mark Lawson. I'll tie in with another one from Brian McDonald. Says, good to see he's already pulled in some of the young team already. Seen Zach Lovelace, of course, Charlie McCann, and Adam Devine and what have you, who are on the fringes of that first team squad. And Brian McDonald says, I really hope Beale has the courage to show some faith in Lowry. He could excel in Beale's system. Got to see a little bit of footage in training. Great bit of skill from Alex Lowry, Stevie. I think Rangers crying out for creativity, aren't they? And I've got to say, I agree with Brian. I'd like to see him feature more, especially in these games coming up over the festive period. Yeah,
absolutely. But look, bluntly, Alex Lowry will be as good as Alex Lowry wants to be and as good as Alex Lowry applies himself to be. So yeah. I think you'll get a fresh start under Michael Beale. Michael Beale shows a lot of faith in youth. He bought that way at QPR. He's worked all the way through, like Liverpool, Chelsea, with youth teams and that. So if Alex Lowry really wants a future at Rangers Football Club, then he will not get a better opportunity. But it's up to him. It really is. The likes of Robbie McCrory's the same. The likes of Adam Devine, Charlie McCann, they're all going to get opportunities. And the comment before about him bringing in the youth, that's all. Even Giovanni Van Bronckhorst did that. He had a lot of them training with them. So this isn't a new thing. But you might find a wee bit more faith or a wee bit more opportunities. There's a lot of games, Derek, where you can use 5 substitutes. There's no reason why these guys shouldn't maybe be getting 5-10 minutes where we can give them. Alex Lowry needs to see more game time. I think that's clear. But Alex Lowry also has to prove his worth to Rangers. He scored a good goal at the end of last season and he showed flashes and he should be in and amongst it, absolutely. Now's the time to push on, not only from him, but from us pushing him on and hopefully getting the game time. But it's up to him.
Yeah, I totally agree. Right, some other comments coming in. It's an interesting one here. A few comments coming in with regards to the captaincy and people suggesting Michael Beale should select a different captain. Stevie, Mad Dog says make Lundstrom captain would get his form back. Billy 55 says Big Connor must be captain when he's back. Obvious choice. I wouldn't be. I don't think I would change the captaincy, and I can't see him doing so. Would you? Can you see that happening?
No, and I wouldn't advocate for it either.
No.
Listen, I'm on record as saying it before, and I can only judge by what people say around the club and what his fellow professionals say and the Rangers squad say. James Tavernier is very well respected within the club, within the dressing room, and he does lead. He's not a type of John Brown character where he'll grab somebody by the scruff of the neck. He doesn't do that. That's not the way he does things. But behind closed doors, James Tavernier is a Rangers captain. And people say, let's look at individual moments and things that he's done in games when he's on form, and albeit we can argue whether or not he has been lately. I don't think he's been up to his usual standards. Question marks over whether he's fit enough, etc. But James Tavernier does his talking on the pitch, so I really don't think that that's a change we need to make. The point about Connor Goldson doesn't need to have an armband to be a leader. And we've seen him in tunnels giving speeches and stuff before the European games. He can still do that. We don't need to change a captaincy to make that happen. And I think that can have a real adverse effect. And Michael Beale, straight away, he was very clever in what he said. The first thing he said was he subtly praised this team. I've got all the faith in them, just in a European final, just won the league last season. These guys, or season before last, these guys are winners, etc. The first thing he does is publicly back them. You know what I mean? And he puts their faith in them. Can you imagine him going into a dressing room and saying, by the way, I'm making a captaincy change?
Yeah.
It just wouldn't work.
No.
So I think that we've got a tendency as a support to try and look for solutions for things that aren't really there. And I don't think that dropping him as captain or dropping him at all is the issue. I don't think James Tavernier is any way problematic in this Rangers team. He's a big positive for me. We should be trying to get him back to playing his absolute best, try to get him fit. And that counts for a few of them, obviously, but I'm not disrespecting anybody's point. It's just not one that I would agree with.
Yeah, totally. Peggy McPhail gets in touch, Stevie, just in the dog chat. My dog is the same, Stevie. He gets jealous if I pay attention to anyone else. Spoiled pooch. Yeah, aren't they all our furry friends? Point here, an interesting one from Aldo, Stevie. He says, what will happen with the goalkeeper position? Is this maybe Robbie's time? Of course, just recently signed a new contract, Robbie McCrory. He hasn't had a look in really in terms of first team opportunities, aside from that time he was called in last season due to the COVID outbreak. Will we get a chance under Michael Beale, or I think he'll stick with Alan McGregor for now. I can't see him changing the goalkeeper position.
No, but it's an interesting point. At some point, Robbie McCrory, he's either going to have to get given an opportunity or he's going to have to leave the club and go elsewhere to get first-team football. Now, as far as I'm aware, Robbie McCrory's 24. Yes. So it's not like he's a young boy. He's of age. Now, as a club, in the summer, we're going to have to address this situation. So does Robbie McCrory get a run so that we can figure out if he's good enough? Or if he's not good enough, then we really need to move him on and see where we are with it. But it's actually a fascinating question. What does Michael Beale do here? Alan McGregor is steady, right? I don't think he's in a position where he's been wonderful since he came back, but nobody in front of him has either. So perhaps we'll see a wee bit more out of him as well. And maybe it is time for Robbie McCrory. It's a big decision. Really, really, really big decision. And I agree with that as well. I think he's got something about him, and I think he can be good enough. He was certainly good enough in Alish Kerr. He was certainly good enough against Celtic last year. So if you can handle that, you don't really get much bigger at Rangers. So it'll be interesting, and that'll be a big test for him. Would he put him in when the defence is a wee bit like it is the now? I'm not so sure he would, but that's certainly a debate to be had, and it's a big question for Michael Beale. The goalkeeping situation is something, especially long-term, that we need to sort. So it's a really fair question. Yeah,
he's at an age, like you say, Stevie, 24. I think that was about the age Alan McGregor was when He was at a sort of Rangers crossroads. He was sent out on loan, of course, to St Johnstone and Dunfermline, and Le Guin preferred Letizia, brought Letizia back, and then it all went to pot, and then he got. Sorry for that. Sorry for bringing that.
He was really grim, like really grim, and we've been good. You know, our goalkeepers growing out all the way through have been really good, but Letizia. Yeah. Oh, that shivery spine stuff. I remember when Alan McGregor came in because he was injured, and then he brought him back, and Ibrox that day was toxic, and we ended up getting beat by Inverness Cali 1-0, and he had a howler for the goal. I think he spilled it out, and the atmosphere around Ibrox that day was pretty grim. But yeah. Oh, Letizia.
Yeah. I think it was Inverness or something that the draw with the boy shot from about 40 yards and just spilled off his chest, and he spilled it and what have you. I think that was just when you get brought back in when McGregor get pulled out. But yeah, those were dark days indeed. But yeah, McGregor went on from there and of course cemented himself as a Rangers legend over 2 spells. It'll be interesting to see what happens with regards to Robbie McCrory. Right, okay, I think that'll do us there, folks. Derek Gray says Letizia, he's trying to trigger my PTSD. Apologies for that, Derek. No, I wasn't intending to do so, but let's get back to the more positive things, and that is Michael Beale as the Rangers manager, and there is a lot of optimism back in the air. And remember, folks, that Black Friday offer on the website, it ends at midnight tonight. If you're not taking advantage of it already, then just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe to sign up. Just £1 for 6 months worth of content. We're practically giving it away, so go and check it out. We'll be back again tomorrow, Thursday, as we look ahead to that press conference unveiling of Michael Beale. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.